I've got a headache. I'm sick.
Oh.
We're here to talk about the NHS and the healthcare in the United Kingdom today.
He's on point. I'm not. I'm going to have another cuppa. So yeah, we wanted to, this is Jordan and Star, the American Haas family living in the English countryside. And we wanted to talk about our experience with NHS as Americans.
And this is a big deal, probably for Americans and for any human. I think healthcare is a big deal. But in the United States, you're told that they have premium services, and that's essentially what you're paying for. You know, I would say what do you call it?
Medical insurance.
The capitalist view of healthcare is that you get what you pay for, and if we're paying more for healthcare, then we must be getting a better service, right?
Yeah.
So I think what we can do to start off with is talk about the cost of NHS versus
So we want this to be helpful for Americans thinking about moving abroad. Obviously, we're speaking about moving abroad to the United Kingdom and specifically England for that matter. So we actually want to run by some of the costs with you. So
I crunched the numbers for the first time.
Jordan is the number cruncher, so go for it, babe.
So if you are from outside of the United Kingdom and you get a visa for any period of time to live in the United Kingdom, you do have to pay for the NHS service. That service costs, for an adult, £1,035 per year of the intended time of staying, and for a child it's £776 per year.
Now, we do understand that citizens of the United Kingdom have been paying into the NHS their entire lives, which we fully respect. But it's just important to know that we do have to pay into the NHS as, you know, coming over here on a student visa. And so we thought we'd share that number, which Jordan just did.
And Star says that because I have been on the record sometimes feeling like I have free healthcare because it's so incredibly different to go to a doctor and not have to pay. I don't know how to explain that to you.
It's so different.
But I'm going to try to, let me get through the numbers first.
Start with what we paid in the US.
I will. Okay. So for our family of four, and I told you what the child price was, that's £3,622 per year is what healthcare costs us in the NHS, which isn't a small amount. But in the United States, our health insurance, and we'll get into that later, into more details, costs $14,400 per year. So that is roughly, it's actually a little bit more than 3 times more expensive than what it's costing us at the NHS.
Yeah.
Not only that, that's just the insurance. Now, the thing that would blow your mind is that if you're in America and you paid for insurance, you would think that you'd get health care then, right?
You would.
Well, you'll get health care, but you'll also get a big fat bill. So our insurance, I think, had a $5,000 deductible.
Yeah.
There was no time that we've ever been to the doctor that we haven't been charged for going to the doctor.
Well, and you have a copay too, and that varies.
It's just crazy. It's bananas. It's nuts. It's expensive. And heaven forbid you have anything serious happen to you. We, as you know, have lived in Alaska. So if
helicopter insurance,
if we would get a helicopter or an ambulance, even if we lived in a city and you called an ambulance, that's thousands of dollars.
Like easily $5,000. Easily.
And, I mean, I hate to admit it, but we've called the ambulance twice since we've lived here. In the UK, and guess what? It's cheaper than an Uber. It's cheaper than a taxi. It's free. It's paid for. It's part of healthcare. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I would just, without us going into any more detail.
Well, I can share my first ambulance experience.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
I'm just saying, price-wise, it's about 1/3 the cost, at least 1/3 of the cost to be on NHS than the United States health insurance plan. Now, so NHS wins, hands down. It's not even a competition in regards to price.
Yeah.
Now, tell me.
Okay, so let's talk about prescriptions though really quickly.
Oh.
So Jordan, he talked about like the added expenses besides your monthly health care in the United States. So that your monthly health care also doesn't include prescriptions, right? It helps reduce the price of prescriptions depending on the medication, right? And that can range. I mean, it can range from, $2 or $3, $5. It can range to $300. And that's with insurance. Okay. So in England, they have a set price for a prescription. So one prescription is £9.90. Or if you're someone who has, a lot of prescriptions that you have to get filled every single month, then it makes way more sense to get what's called an annual prepaid certificate. And right now that's £114.50. So there you have it. I mean, that's just, I don't even need to go through the math to show you what a difference that makes. So, we've used a prepaid certificate because it just also being immigrants, we caught everything you can catch virus wise. So we've been in and out of the doctor quite a bit. I was just at the stable, so I guess I have straw in my hair.
Yeah.
So ambulance experience, do you think?
Well, sure. You just talked about Star did just get back from horse riding.
Yeah.
So that's another example of an activity, sport, a hobby that you might really weigh your options on in the United States, because if you had a fall, if you broke your arm, or anything that can happen on the regular basis,
yeah,
could be cost detrimental.
Yeah. So my first ambulance experience is Ella and I, we moved here first, which we just shared with all of you. And I did a polo taster with the University of Warwick. I ended up being on their equestrian team, but I've never gotten to ride polo being the United States. It's just, you can't find it really, especially not compared to England. Or I've trained my whole life as an eventer, like a show jumper. And all of that training involves focusing on the horse solely. You're always focused on the horse. Polo, it's not like that, right? You have a horse, and then you have a mallet, and you have a ball. So my brain doesn't really work well in all those different directions. And I got so competitive to hit the ball, but I wasn't able to train my brain quick enough to switch over from horse, ball, doing all of these things at the same time. So I almost just leapt off the horse to reach the ball because I was so competitive. But it was also a fall off the horse, and I fell in a V. So imagine my head is here, my feet are here, and my butt is here, and my tailbone, of course, is here. So I fell like this, and it hit the bottom of my tailbone. It hurt so freaking bad.
In the United States, would you call an ambulance in that situation?
No, I wouldn't have, because I was able to lay there, and then the coach looked over at me and he was like, "Are you okay?" And because I'm older, I was like, let me just sit here for a few minutes. Got back on, I finished, but I'm really competitive, right? So I didn't want the rest of these potential team members to see that I was in a lot of pain. So I make it back to the car where my daughter Ella is, and we drive off, and I'm like, "Ella, I'm dying. I'm in so much pain," basically. So I had my first NHS experience, and should we go into that really quickly?
No, we definitely need to describe the benefits and how the NHS system works.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Or the cons, however it was for you.
Yeah, well, I didn't know how to work the NHS, right? I guess I was a little bit scared, intimidated. I don't know, new country.
What do you dial if you don't feel good?
So I called our friend who's British, and I'm like, "This just happened. I'm just in a lot of pain. I think I may have cracked my tailbone, but I'm okay. I'm driving home right now." And there's two numbers to call. So in America, we have 911. So the equivalent to that in the UK is 999, okay? They also have a number called 111, which is "Hey, I'm not dying right now, but I have a medical issue," and they can kind of get you in touch with a nurse or the appropriate like person.
And sometimes they can tell you that it's more appropriate to dial 999.
In which they did in my case.
Right.
So yeah, so I called my friend and I'm like, look, I'm gonna be fine. Like I don't feel right calling 911 because as Americans, what do we think about when we call 911?
Well, I mean, it'd be an emergency.
Like a bit, yeah, like me being able to get up and ride the horse, we would have never called 911.
Well, not for medical stuff. No, you wouldn't. You would feel a little bit comfortable calling 911 if it's a police emergency, because because that is pro bono. That is not no charge. But an ambulance, it'll be $5,000.
Yeah, I didn't know that actually. So I called 111 and they put me immediately through to 999. So they escalated me. I made it home and the ambulance ended up coming to get me. They took me into the hospital. They took tons of x-ray. I was kind of put in a critical patient list and they did a CT scan.
How long did it take for the ambulance to show up?
It took a few hours.
And we live in the Midlands. Where you live, we found out means it makes a big difference on response time, whether that's in the hospital, your general practice, anything like that.
And well, it also depends on like the emergency. So I have one emergency.
But you said 2 hours for this ambulance?
It was actually more like 4.
4 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
That's worth noting. In the United States, my $5,000 ambulance gets there in 10 minutes. You know, it
True.
Just does.
Now, when I had an incident where we thought I was having a heart attack in the middle of the night and they were there within 15 minutes, I think.
Definitely depends, like I said, on where you live. And they probably have an escalating factor, like they prioritize where the ambulance is going to be.
Well, yeah, they definitely do. Yeah, and they say that to you. NHS is amazing. It's a brilliant system, and I wish America had something like this. And
well, what about me? Do I not get sick? What about all the other stories? What about doctors? There's so much to go through.
Well, I just want to finish this thought. So my last thought with this is with NHS and every experience I've had that goes from like seeing your GP to being at the hospital, I have never felt undertaken care of. The NHS is incredibly efficient. They do not hold back care. Now, they're not going to give it to you if you don't need it, but I've never felt like, oh, I got screwed over. They should have done this and they didn't do it. So I'm very pro NHS. I think it's fantastic.
So we're going to talk about our GP experiences, and then I'm going to talk about sort of a major medical knee surgery that I need to have, and then we'll wrap it up. So we live in the Midlands. Your GP, I think, is primarily, if not entirely, based on your postcode.
Yeah. So your zip code, basically, for the Americans.
Right. And you can get a choice between maybe some alternatives within your postcode.
Sometimes.
And I think in the city, it's sort of like more busy than in rural areas.
Yeah. They call it a postcode lottery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm someone who went to the same GP since I was 12 years old. So that was really intimidating for me because we just had to move surgeries. They call like your GP here the office of surgery because we just moved and it was far enough that our postcode changed our surgery location, which really freaked me out. So I was really anxious about it. Because I had really bonded with the doctor, right? I had that relationship, and that's just something I've had to deal with. We're lucky that we got in with a really, really good surgery here, but that, as an American, that freaked me out. It really did. So now I'm starting the bonding process over with the new doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
What about wait times where we live?
Oh gosh, they can be real. They're so long. I think.
What?
I fired my OBGYN because I got so pissed one time because I was there for so long.
Okay, so but there's what about the GP though? I think that's what we were saying.
The GP I think you're easily looking at 15 minutes I've been at a GP for an hour sometimes.
No, I don't mean that. I mean like to get a schedule, like to get on their calendar.
Oh, I thought you meant waiting times in the waiting room.
I guess I could mean that too. So you wait in the waiting room for an hour to get to
in America, yeah.
In America?
In America, yeah.
Okay, then what is it like in
the
England?
UK? So in England, there's 10-minute slots. Your appointment is 10 minutes. So for special things, rarely, like if it's really, special, they'll say book a double slot. So what that means is you're getting 20 minutes. But that's really different from the US, because in the US, once you're in with your doctor, you're not timed like that. And they really tend to run on schedule, which I've really come to appreciate with that. And I think because of that, I mean, you get in pretty quick. You can really trust like your appointment time. And I feel like you really can't so much in America.
Yeah, that's 100% the same for me as far as the appointment times go. If you have an appointment in America, the doctor could be running an hour late before they even see you.
Yeah.
Here, it's not like that. They generally see you during your appointment time.
Yep.
They're efficient and quick about getting you in and out. At that point, sometimes they'll spend an extra 5 or 10 minutes with you if you have something urgent.
Yeah.
But they're trying to stick to their schedule. And it's way better than having to wait.
Yeah.
And things like that.
And I've never felt like kicked out because it went over 10 minutes.
I think that some people have problems getting into their GP to begin with. We haven't had that problem at all. If it's our kids, they always get in same day. If it's Star and I, we can get in, say, within 24 hours generally.
Also, speaking of kids in the NHS, everything, I think under the age of 16 for kids is free. So prescriptions are free, eyeglasses are free, or glasses, you're going to make fun of me for that. It's all free for children. Also, if you're diabetic, and I think like maybe over the age of 65 potentially. So you should know that as well.
Right.
Your knee.
So my knee. So I'm going to try to make a short story, but I have had a few surgeries on my knees. Star mentioned that I've played rugby for 15 years. So I've sort of worn out a lot of the cartilage in my knee, but specifically it's from acute injuries to where cartilage has sort of been chunked out of my knee where it should be. And so it's like a pothole sort of in a road, but it's on my knee. And so I did go, you have to get a referral to go to an orthopedic person. So that goes from your GP to a physio, which is a physical therapist. The physical therapist has to recommend that you go to an orthopedic place. The orthopedic place has to recommend a prescription.
Lots of hoops.
So you can see the cues just by virtue of that. Whereas in the United States, you go to an orthopedic person.
Right. Yeah.
So in addition to that, after we had a surgery treatment plan from my orthopedic, well, then I'm in a queue for surgery, and it's like an indefinitely long queue.
Yeah.
And so I'll be going, I think that I'm going to have my surgery about a year after I initially had my first appointment with the GP. So that's probably an extra 9 months or 10 months compared to what I get in the United States.
But I mean, it's cost wise, explain it, your surgery.
I couldn't compare it cost wise. I mean, there's no comparison. And I do feel like, besides the way, and maybe time will tell on this, but I feel like I'm getting a good quality treatment plan for what my ailments are in my knee.
Yeah.
So there is the waiting is the price that you're paying in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, any last words on the NHS?
I think we've talked about some pros and cons of both services. Star and I, I think you might have mentioned it earlier. I think that we strongly support the NHS.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's so nice to not have money in your decision making for health concerns.
For health. To not worry about that is it's mind blowing as an American. It's just mind blowing.
And I think that everybody in like a first world country, in a leader country, I would hope that America can adopt this sometime.
Couldn't agree
more. It's hard to change the capitalist mindset of Americans, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And corporate greed too. But anyway, that's our story. Thanks for listening.
Yep, please subscribe.
Comment if you have any questions, and we're happy to further elaborate on the differences between NHS and the United States healthcare.
Yeah, and comment if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see next from us. Please subscribe. We're really trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.
Bye.